Claiming at 62 with a full retirement age of 67 cuts your monthly amount by about 30% for life. Waiting until 70 raises it by about 24% above full for life. Those two sentences are the whole decision, and almost every argument you have heard about it is answering a question that does not apply to your household. Welcome back. Last time we went through survivor benefits, and I said at the end that the natural next episode was the one about how the claiming age changes the amount. This is that episode. Let me lay out the arithmetic first, cleanly, and then I want to spend the second half on the part that actually decides it, which is not arithmetic at all. Start with the reduction for claiming early. If your full retirement age is 67, and it is for everybody born in 1960 or later, then every month you claim before that age reduces your benefit permanently. The reduction is not one flat rate. For the first 3 years before full retirement age, it runs about 6 2/3% a year. For any year beyond those 3, it runs about 5% a year. Stack those up from 62 to 67, and you land at roughly a 30% cut. Now hear the word I keep using, permanently. This is not a discount that expires when you reach 67. The reduced amount is your amount, adjusted each year for cost of living for the rest of your life. That is the piece people miss. And it is the piece that makes this decision different from almost every other money decision you will make, because there is no correcting it later except in one narrow window I will come back to. Now the other direction. If you wait past full retirement age, you earn what are called delayed retirement credits, worth about 8% a year. And here's the part that matters more than the 8%. The credits stop at 70. Dead stop. There is no benefit whatsoever to waiting until 71 or 72. I have talked to people who were holding out because they figured longer is always better, and they were quite simply losing money every month. They waited past 70 for no return at all. 3 years of credits from 67 to 70 adds about 24%. So the age 70 benefit is roughly 124% of your full amount. Put the whole range in one line. 62 gets you about 70% of your full benefit. 67 gets you 100%. 70 gets you about 124%. From bottom to top, that is a difference of roughly 77% in the monthly amount, and it is decided by a choice you make once. So now we come to the number everybody quotes at each other, which is the break-even age. The idea is simple enough. Claiming early gives you smaller checks starting sooner. Claiming later gives you bigger checks starting later. There is an age where the two paths have paid out the same total, and after that age, the later claim is ahead forever. Comparing 62 against 67, that crossing point comes at roughly 78 to 79. Comparing 67 against 70, it comes at roughly 82 to 83. Before I let you carry those numbers around, let me tell you what is not inside them. That arithmetic is nominal. It does not account for taxes, which vary by household. It does not account for what you might have earned by investing the early checks. And it compounds cost of living adjustments only roughly. Treat those ages as a neighborhood, not an address. But here is my real problem with break-even, and it is not that the number is imprecise. Break-even answers the question, how long do I have to live for waiting to have been worth it? And that is a fine question for exactly one kind of person, which is a single person with no dependents. If you are married, it is the wrong question. Let me explain why, and this is where last week's episode comes back. When one spouse dies, the household keeps the larger of the two benefits and the smaller one ends. We covered the mechanics of that in the Survivor episode, so I will not repeat them. What matters today is the consequence. The higher earner's claiming decision does not only set the higher earner's check, it sets the floor for whichever one of you lives longer. So when the higher earner in a couple delays, they are not making a bet on their own lifespan. They are buying a larger benefit for the survivor in the years when that survivor will be living on one check instead of two, and quite possibly at the age when care costs the most. Run break even on one life, and it looks like a coin flip. Run it on the longer of two lives, and it stops looking like a coin flip, because the odds that at least one of two people reaches 85 are much better than the odds for either one alone. That single reframe changes more household decisions than any other thing I say on this channel. Now, the mirror image of that, which is just as important and gets said much less often. If you are the lower earner in a couple, The same logic runs backwards. Your benefit is likely the one that ends. Delaying it buys much less because it is the check that disappears. So in a lot of households, the sensible pattern is the lower earner claims earlier to bring money in, while the higher earner delays to protect the survivor. I want to be careful here. That is a pattern, not a prescription, and the numbers in your household can change it. But if you have only ever heard delay if you can, that sentence was written for one person, not for a couple. Let me put two households side by side, because the reframe lands better with people in it than with percentages. First household, called him the Cranes. He earned more for most of their working life. She stepped out for 11 years with the children and came back part-time. His full retirement age benefit is the bigger of the two by a wide margin. Both of them are 63, both in reasonable health, and both sets of parents lived into their late 80s. The advice they got from a friend was simple. Take it at 65, split the difference, do not be greedy. Here is what that advice never considered. Whichever of them lives longer will spend those final years on 011 benefit, and it will be his. If he claims at 65, that survivor floor is set at a reduced number forever. If he waits to 70 and she claims earlier to keep money coming in, the household gets income during the gap years, and the survivor floor lands about 24% above his full amount instead of below it. Same two people, same life expectancy, completely different last decade. And notice that nothing about their own patience changed the answer. What changed the answer was recognizing that the higher earner was not making a decision about himself. Second household. Call her Dolores. 62, single, no children, and she has been managing a heart condition for 6 years. Her doctor is honest with her about what the next 20 years probably look like. Every article she reads tells her that claiming at 62 is the biggest mistake in retirement planning. For her, it is not a mistake at all. The break-even ages I gave you, assume you get there. She has looked at that honestly, and taking the smaller amount now means she gets to use the money during the years she is well enough to enjoy it. There is nobody behind her whose floor depends on her waiting. Two households, two opposite answers, and the exact same arithmetic behind both. That is why I will not give you a number and tell you it is the right one. Now, let me deal with the health question directly, because it outranks the math and it usually gets whispered instead of said. If you have a health condition that makes a long life unlikely, claiming early is not impatience. It is arithmetic in the other direction, and nobody should feel bad about it. The break-even ages I gave you assume you get there, and here is the pairing that gets missed. If you are the higher earner and your health is poor, you still have to look at your spouse's health before you claim early, because your decision sets their floor. A shorter life for you can still argue for delaying, if the person who outlives you is likely to live a long time. Family history matters more than how you feel this year. Both parents into their 90s is data. A rough winter is not. Two more practical things before the recap. First, if you are still working and you claim before full retirement age, the earnings test applies. Part of your benefit gets withheld based on what you earn, and the withheld amount is credited back later once you reach full retirement age. Our sister channel did a full episode with the current numbers, so I will not repeat the figures here. Just know that claiming early while still earning a full salary is usually the worst of both worlds, reduced permanently and partially withheld in the meantime. Second, the narrow window I promised. If you claim and then decide, quickly, that it was the wrong move, there is a way to withdraw the application within 12 months of starting, but it requires paying back what you received. It is a real door and it closes fast, and there is a separate option after full retirement age to suspend a benefit and pick up credits again. Those are technical enough to deserve their own episode, so treat them today as two things that exist rather than two things you should do. Now, 3 arguments you will hear against waiting. I want to handle them honestly rather than pretend they do not exist, because 2 of them are decent arguments. Argument 1, take it early and invest the difference. This is the most common one, and the math behind it is real but conditional. To come out ahead, you need returns high enough to beat what the delay is worth. You need to actually invest the checks rather than spend them, and you need to accept market risk on money that would otherwise be a guaranteed lifetime payment adjusted for inflation. Some households genuinely can and do. Most people who say this out loud have not opened the account. Argument 2, What if the program changes before I get there? This one has been said every single year for 4 decades, and I did a whole episode on where the 2032 date comes from and what it does and does not mean, so I will not relitigate it here. The short version for today: no proposal that has gone anywhere has taken a benefit away from somebody already receiving one or close to claiming. Claiming early out of fear is making a permanent decision to solve a risk you cannot control. Argument 3, and this is the one I think is genuinely underrated. $1 at 63 is worth more to you than $1 at 80. Not financially, practically. You can travel on it, you can help a grandchild with it, you can be well enough to use it. That is a real argument, and I will not talk anybody out of it. Just make it on purpose, with the survivor question already answered rather than by default. So let me put the whole thing together, because I do not want you leaving here with 5 percentages and no decision. Claim at 62 if the money is needed now and there is no other source. If your health argues against a long life and you are single, or if you are the lower earner in a couple and the household needs income while the higher earner delays. Needing the money is a perfectly good reason. Nobody should feel talked down to for taking their own benefit at their own age. Claim at full retirement age if you want the simple middle, if you are still working right up to it, or if you honestly do not expect to keep your hands off the money if it starts arriving 3 years early. Delay to 70 if you are the higher earner in a couple and your spouse is in decent health, if your family history runs long, or if you can cover the gap years from other savings without straining. And if you delay, know exactly why you are doing it, because you will get advice from every direction telling you that you are losing money in the meantime. One last thought, and then I will let you go. There is a version of this decision that gets made in the worst possible way. Somebody turns 62, gets frustrated with the paperwork or the phone lines, hears a neighbor say, "Get it while you can," and files without ever seeing the 3 percentages side by side. The choice gets made by mood. You do not have to be sure. You just have to look at the actual numbers for your household once, with the survivor question sitting on the table where you can see it, before the mood makes the decision for you. Pull your statement, find your full retirement age amount, and multiply it by 70% and by 124%. Write those 3 numbers on a piece of paper. That is a 10-minute job, and it is the most valuable arithmetic most households will ever do. Thanks for watching. If you have not seen the Survivor Benefits episode yet, watch that one next, because the 2 decisions are really one decision and it helps to see both halves. See you in the next one.